back, everybody, to a new video, number 51. I guess we'll ramp up here to 100, hopefully. It's been a while. Thank you all for being here, first of all. If you like what you hear, like what you see, maybe get a little inspiration or insight, please hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. It helps. It helps the channel. So thank you for being here today. Have a little bit different video for you. Again, you know, it's been a while. I've been gone. For those of you who don't know, I'm a photographer. And I spent 2 weeks in the southwestern part of America, in the Navajo country. I teach. I conduct photo workshops with groups. Doing this a lot of years, and it's always good to get back to these great places, and also nice to get back home. So I'm here for a couple of weeks, gone for a couple of weeks, back for a couple of weeks, gone for a couple of weeks, and then that's the end of the year. But I've been trying to get some videos done in the meantime. And again, thank you all for being here. This is going to be a little different video than I've done in the past. I've had some comments and some suggestions, really good ones, to talk about some of the books and DVDs that I have and like and listen to. You know, just like photography, if you went into my library, you'd see you see hundreds of photography books. I'm a great believer in knowing about the places I go and the history and all that stuff. It makes you a better photographer. In music, I think knowing about the artists and what their lives are about, what they went through, all that kind of thing will make you appreciate what they're trying to do even more. So let's delve into a few things. I've got a lot of books, and I've selected enough probably to do 2 videos. So I'm gonna just ramble here and show you some books. If this gets long, then I'll split it up into another one. You know, I don't script these videos. I kind of just go by the seat of my pants here. So I don't want to make these an hour video. People don't want to watch things more than about 10, 12 minutes. Even that's long these days. So I'll try to make this brief. But I want to talk about some of the books that I've read and used to understand the music. I think you really have to do that. I think it's really important. You know, collecting records, having the original Blue Notes or an RVG in the dead wax and all of that stuff. It's great to know and great to have, I guess. For me, it's about the music and, again, knowing some of the history of these artists is really, really important. There are some people who really get into that here on the vinyl community channels. You know, I think off the top of my head, Dan over to Jazz Shepherd, and some of the other folks do such a good job too in talking about the players. But some of these folks are very complicated, and they've led complicated lives. They came from tough backgrounds for the most part, and you know, and their life reflects in their music. Just some general books that I've read over the years, and these go back a number of years. So I'll try to show you some of these. Some of these may be available on eBay. Some of them may not. I don't know. Pardon me. I have a cold, so if I sound nasally, let me know. All those early mornings and stuff, I think, took a toll. This is a book by John S. Wilson. It's called The Collector's Jazz, Traditional and Swing. And it goes through stories about records and the artists. I'll try to get close enough for you to see this. This book is a discography, really a guide to records developed before World War II and some after World War II. Wilson was a jazz program person on WQXR in New York when I was there, prior to QXR becoming an old classical channel. If you could see the price on this, this book was $1.45 when it was new. But it's a really great book. It talks about every, Al Hurt to Miles Davis to Joe Venuti on violin. Great stories from Joe. Really good book if you can find an interesting book. Another one I had by Martin Williams is called Jazz Panorama, the birth of Dixieland to the latest third stream innovations and the people who made it. $1.50. I can't remember when I bought this, but this is one of the first books I read when I was really young. And again, if you can find these, they're really, really cool to read. A lot of insight. Another Martin Williams book. Martin did a lot of stuff. The Tradition of Jazz. What do I have in here? A Charlie Parker postcard. Look at that. Isn't that weird? Isn't that cool? Photograph unidentified. But this book was 95 cents when I bought it. And it's just a great book. And again, just a general stuff. 2 copies of that. Let's skip over to some of the other things. We all pay attention to records and how they were made, who made them, why they were made, etc. This is not about musicians, but it's about an engineer, Al Schmidt. Al worked for a lot of years. He was the most in-demand engineer, I think, at the time. I think he just was great. What Al did that other people didn't do is instead of using EQ and other stuff, he knew the characteristics of every microphone, where to put it, what instruments they sounded better on. And this book is all about that. It's called Al Schmidt on the Record, The Magic Behind the Music. It is available. Forward by Paul McCartney. But a great book. Al talks about his career. It's really, really amazing thing to read. For those of you who are into good sounding music, these guys is what makes the music happen. The mastering people, the engineers, they really make it happen. Let's get into some of the books here. Again, record-wise, this is a paperback. It is available by Michael Mallet, The Complete Recording Sessions of Rudy Van Gelder, 53 to 2011. Goes through every record, when it was made, who was on it, the record number, the sidemen, anything you want to know on Blue Note. And please, if you're a collector, it would be good for you to have this. You'll know it's a good reference book on everything that Van Gelder did. He several, thousands of sessions in Hackensack and over to Englewood, New Jersey, really close to where I grew up. We used to ride our bike over to his place just to watch these guys go in and out. Another book on Blue Note Records. This is a book by Richard Cook. It is available. I think I bought it on eBay from some place in Missouri with drawing. But it's a biography of Blue Note Records. And, there's some great anecdotes in here, great stories about the musicians and the sessions, and chronological history of Blue Note. It's really, really a good book to know, to get and to understand Blue Note. You're all into Blue Note. Blue Note, it's a funny thing. When I was When I was growing up, Blue Note was a small little label. I mean, Columbia Capital, I think I mentioned this in other videos. Blue Note was not a mainstay label. Neither was Prestige. It was Columbia Capital and other folks, Decca, big labels. But it has since become Blue Note, and we all love Blue Note. You can see back here, there's tons of them here. But it's good to know about the company and the chronological order and things that went on. some great stories in there too. Interesting stories. So let's get into some of the players. And these are in no order. I may jump around here a little bit, but here's a book I read on Dexter Gordon called Sophisticated Giant, written by Maxine Gordon. Maxine Gordon was the wife of Max Gordon, who owned the Village Vanguard in New York. And this is really a great story about his legacy and what he did coming out of LA to Europe and then back into America. You know, I mean, is there anybody higher in caliber than Dexter? I hear a lot of Dexter and Coltrane's playing, a lot. And anyhow, so, you know, it's really important to understand Dexter's past, what he went through, his trials and tribulations of life. This is, as far as I'm concerned, the quintessential little biography on Dexter. It is available. UC Press, Amazon will have this one. I really suggest reading that and understanding Dexter, because he's one of the you know, giants of jazz. You know, there's a number of books on Coltrane that are around. One of the book that I kind of enjoy the best on Coltrane is called Chasing the Train on Da Capo Press. J.C. Thomas. Again, I don't know if this is in print, but I think I saw it on eBay. But it's a kind of a you know, understanding of how Coltrane thought, and traces his career from his roots in North Carolina to up through New York, and his apprenticeship with Dizzy, and his work, you know, with Monk and Miles and all the other things, and then the classic quartet that he worked with. But they're just stories, recollections of things, and you know, he had a tough life, and it reflects in his playing. You know, Miles actually had to quit working with Train because of drug addiction, and the Train came back clean and moved his game up quite a bit. It goes through that quite extensively in this. Chasing the Train, J.C. Thomas. I hope you're not bored yet. I have a lot to go through, and I think this will be a two-parter. How about Clifford Brown? You know, I've been threatening to do a video called What If Clifford Lived? I'm trying to get maybe Dan, if you're listening, to do one with me. Anybody else that's interested, we could talk about Jazz Bums if you want to do one. On What If Clifford Lived? Clifford died in '56 at age 26. A little different life. He lived a very kind of a clean life. Practiced like crazy. Didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't do drugs. Family man. Came up, had a great upbringing. But this traces his roots from young Clifford in Philadelphia, all the way to the quintet with Max Roach in California, and eventually came to New York. And it just goes through his life. Nick Catalano wrote this. Really, this is one of the best books I've ever read. And it's just a great book. Some nice photographs in here. But it's easy reading. You read this in a day or two. But if you want to know about, perhaps, you know, next to Louis Armstrong, maybe maybe the second greatest trumpet player of all time. And what if he had lived? Incredible talent. Played so clean, had a rich sound. I wonder how other trumpet players would have made it if Clifford was around. I think Freddie would have. But some other players got notoriety, kind of because Clifford wasn't here, I think. Interesting subject, and maybe we ought to tackle that someday. What else? Here's Art Pepper. Another confusing guy. Do you see a mantra here? You see a consistency in these genius players having complicated lives? And it's so important to know about that. This is called the Art Pepper Companion. And what this does is it talks about, again, about Art's life, and it talks about what he went through with his addictions, his incarcerations, his thoughts about things, his recordings on contemporary, and on. Led a tragic life, but man, what a great player! What a genius! You know, he was there, but it would do you good to read this book. It's written by Todd Selbert. Quite extensive research was done. Really, really a great book. This is available on eBay. The Art Pepper Companion. Check it out. Another Art Pepper book that goes back quite a long time is called Straight Life. Again, there's a lot of history here, but a lot of stories. Some great Art Pepper stories that isn't in the other book. It's a pretty extensive book. It's about almost 500 pages. Discographies in the back, pictures, and stories about, you know, different sessions, about his personal life. Again, if you want to know about Art Pepper, these two books are the ones to check out. Straight Life by Laurie and Art Pepper. This is an autobiography. Very, very important and somewhat kind of depressing in a way, how these guys went through this. Talking about a complicated, but man, what a genius. Keith Jarrett. And he, you know, one of my, I mean, he's one of my favorite musicians and one of my favorite people to learn about. I mean, I've read a fair amount, saw a lot of interviews. This is the book by Wolfgang Sander. It was written in German, but translated into English in the last 4 or 5 years. And it talks about his beginnings with Charles Lloyd and the ECM years and the travels and just overall discussions of each recording and philosophies of what he was trying to accomplish. You'll notice all the bookmarks in here. See all the bookmarks? These are passages that I really enjoyed his quotes on. But just a great book. Keith Jarrett had a stroke a couple of years ago, and I think his one of his hands is not functioning correctly. I don't know how you live with that when you can play like Keith. We'll do 3 or 4 more here, and then we'll maybe do another video to finish out this pile here. Lee Morgan, another complicated guy. His Life, Music, and Culture by Tom Purchett. This author researched Lee Morgan extensively. And if you want to learn how Lee was brought up, what drove him to be the great player that he was, the sessions, the stories, his breakthrough with Blakey, prior to that, you know, with Dizzy, and you know, I think he worked with Dizzy when he was 18 or something. And he's just a great player. Again, a tragic life. I think a lot of us know how he passed. I'm not going to go into that, but you know, he lived a wild life and died a wild life. So you know, it goes through a lot of particulars about his life, and there's a great narrative on what drove him to be what he was. And there are interviews with other musicians and acquaintances in here that really will educate you to why Lee was what Lee was, and why he played like he did. Great player. great player. Lee Morgan. So, you know, another kind of an Art Pepperish type player. Look at that face. That's Chet Baker. Deep in a Dream, The Long Night of Chet Baker. Again, history from early life to his untimely passing in Europe. A lot of conjecture on how that happened, and I don't know that we'll ever know. But you know, Chet Baker was again one of the great trumpet players of all time. Was looked at as a Miles Davis type character when he was young, but you know, succumbed to addiction and tragedy. But I think it's important to understand why Chet played and sang like he did. And it's a reflection of his life. And in this book, you can learn about his life. We'll talk about the Chet Baker video in the next, when I talk about the DVDs and stuff, we'll get into that a little bit. Let's do one more. The new Chet Baker book. This is a relatively new book, newer than that book, and a great book, is called Chet Baker, Always Looking for the Light, memoir by Art with 2 T's, A-R-T-T, Frank. A little bit different book than the other book, in that he goes more into the resurgence of Chet's career in the, I guess, in the early 70s, you'd say, and you know, I mean, Chet was a legend. You know, I mean, you know, it's just this guy tells it like it is. From the darkness, Chet's darkness, up to his genius, you know. And anyhow, I would strongly suggest adding this to your jazz library to understand Chet Baker a little better. Anyhow, I think that's going to do it for this video. I guess it is. And until next time, again, if you liked what you heard, please subscribe. If you have any comments, questions, just go ahead and put them down. And we thank you for being here. We'll see you soon.